Hello, I'm the Sugar Ray.
I'm an odd character.
The manga The Voynich Hotel is a wonderful, quirky, adorable little story full of death and violence, but also love and protection that I think everyone should read. The Voynich Hotel is about the Voynich Hotel, but also the island that it is on and its inhabitants. With a declining economy and population, a surprising number of people go there seemingly to die. There are two main storylines. One, a group of children that might annoy you if you're me and like the adults so much, and the adults, which is... The main character is Kazuki, a Japanese man who's running from his past that he does not want to talk about. He might be a Yakuza, and how he meets and forms a friendship and romance maid Elena, who might be a witch. So Kazuki's cluelessness in being a visitor to the island, and the maid's cluelessness in how to be a human in modern society, and also the appropriateness to which relationships come off, are what set up a lot of the jokes in their storyline. When I started reading it, I thought I could see the pattern a mile away, that every issue there will be an elaborate hitman coming to kill Kazuki, and every issue Elena will have to thwart them with witch powers and fighting, or someone else on the island will. There isn't as much as that. There's a lot of just dealing with the weird normalities of the people on the island and how they interact with one another, and it's actually really cool and really funny. This is great. There's several kinds of hitmen. There's drug dealers. There's weird cooks that are just never explained. The owner of the Voynich Hotel is a luchador in a mask. I don't really have a luchador mask. Yeah, just like that. There's hitmen. There's ghosts. There's a closed down amusement park with a weird Hello Kitty worm thing. There's children that go on an adventure. There's witches. There's Frankenstein sewn together witches. And there's Yakuza. So much Yakuza. There's a serial murderer. It's nuts. I'm pretty sure it's by a guy named Dowman Sayman. The Voynich Hotel is by a guy named Sayman Dowman. Sounds fake. I read a couple of his other manga, and they are all similarly weird and violent and open to violence against children. It's really interesting, just like how it is, and everything he writes is skewed and has a very loose aesthetic, similar to like Ren and Stimpy. Like back in the day, like if you read the Ren and Stimpy comic books, like I wish I had a better comparison, but I cannot remember things. The comic thinks a lot about the themes of home and protection and what it means to go on to the future having perhaps lost those things. Elena and her sisters fought to protect the island against invading Spaniards. Defeated, they found their home in the Voynich Hotel. Kazuki once had his home in Japan with the Yakuza, but could not stand them anymore and thus retreated, and he finds his home in the Voynich Hotel. The island, just like in old, is once again losing its inhabitants. The businesses are closing. They have like a pie shop, and every other business around them has closed. Including the city's amusement park. To convince you to read this manga, I'm going to put up this comic. I'm going to go through little things, okay? Like, this screenshot alone is what convinced me to read this comic, and I did not regret it at all. It was adorable. And as the romance between Kazuki and Elena really takes off, you just feel it. But there's a kind of weird innocence to everything. Like, there's a weird innocence to murder. There's a weird innocence to romance. There's an innocence in the way that violence is dealt out to everyone, and everyone is capable of crimes and being like a bad person. But also, everyone's capable of being a good person, or being spared, or feeling the luckiness of their life. Oh man. And my thoughts are so scattered on it that I just love it, and it might not be enough there to really analyze, but there kind of is. Like, I read it illegally, but soon you can read it legally, and I hope that you do. The Voynich Hotel is something special. Typically, in magical island shows and things like that, there's a lesson to be learned. In Fantasy Island, zipline, zipline! Every episode was about someone living their fantasies, but then drawing a real-life lesson from that. It was very episodic. In every episode, several lessons would be learned, and it would be a real character-developing thing. And temporary. No one would quite stay at the island. It was implied that the people that came there, that worked there, were enslaved in some way to the devil, be it... Here's a little story that someone told me. After high school graduation, he had a friend who wanted to tour the country on a motorcycle. Just kept driving until he ran out of money. And he ran out of money in Tennessee. He made it 3 states from Michigan. And my teacher told me that his friend lives there to this day. When I asked how this could have happened, the teacher asks, well, you get down there, you need money, you start working, you meet some people, you eventually start a career, you make your home, and before you know it, you live there. Life is crazy. You never know where you're going to end up. You never know exactly where you're going to be. You can, perhaps, try to plan out where you're going to be, or try to purposely move things for you, depending on the assets that are available. But in the end, wherever you go is where you end up being, where you end up staying. Take it from a guy who used to live in Michigan and now lives in Iowa. And it looks like this is about where my roots are. In the same way, Voynich Hotel, Kazuki didn't think that he was going to be staying. Kazuki thought he would just be a blip and then he would keep running from his past. But he formed a relationship and he ends up staying and then draws the ire of those possible consequences. Consequences of, what do I do now for a job? How do I keep going with this person? How do we support ourselves? The Voynich Hotel takes this concept that the people where you vacation just kind of there to serve you, and like their existence is to be background and color your experience on your vacation. But it's been flipped up on its head as Kazuki starts to live there and starts to have a relationship with a maid. It's turned the convention of vacation destination to a possible spot to be home. That's not in a, perhaps even in a colonizing sense, that it touches on colonization as an idea. It's hard to tell where you're going or what events mean while you live them. But in the end, it seems like it was always meant to be that way. Ray Richards, the Sugar Ray's Patreon, he writes stuff, like interesting stuff. Leave a comment what your thoughts were. Like, subscribe, comment, and Patreon. Those are my 4 things. Those are the 4 ending things.
Zipline, zipline.